Hi, and welcome to Section 3, Creating UIs to Scale with Flux. In this section, we will focus on structuring our front end. Ideally, each module should be responsible for a single thing, as in our main components, we are running too many operations within single modules. Besides rendering the different views, we have code to make an API request to endpoints and receive, handle, and format the response. We will understand Flux and implement Flux on React. Let's start with the first video of this section, Understanding Flux. In this video, we're going to take a look at Flux Concepts, adding dates to UI, and building user interfaces with Flux. Flux is a pattern that Facebook created to build consistent and stable web apps with React. React doesn't give you the ability to manage data. Rather, it simply accepts data through props and components, and further, the components process the data. The React library doesn't really tell you how to get the components or where to store the data. That's why it's called the view layer. In React, we don't have a framework as we have in the case of Angular or Backbone. That's where Flux comes in. Flux is not really a framework, but it's a pattern that will have you building your own views. What is a Flux pattern? We have your React components, such as a tweet component and so on, and these components do two things in the Flux pattern. They either perform actions or they listen to stores. In our use case, if a user wants to post a tweet, the components need to perform actions, and actions then interact with stores, update the pattern to the API, and give a response to the components. This diagram will give you more clarity on Flux. Take a look at the Flux concepts that we need to understand before moving ahead. Actions. This is the way components interact with API endpoints and update them. In our case, we post new tweets using it. Actions pipe the action to the dispatcher. It might create multiple actions. Dispatcher. This dispatches every single event that comes in and sends it across to every single subscriber, which are basically stores. Stores. This is an important part of Flux. Components always listen to stores for any changes. Components. This is used to store the action names. Before we deep dive into Flux, a little thing we need to add to our views is the date feature. Earlier, we were seeing the timing of the tweets that are stored in the database as the TZ format. However, ideally, it should be compared with current timings and should be shown in reference to it. In order to do that, we will need to update our main.jsx file so that it will format our tweets. Add this code to main.jsx. Our work is done here. Now, our tweet should look something like this. Great! Lastly, let's build user interfaces with Flux. In Flux, we will be defining the responsibility of every module, and it should also be single. The React responsibility is to re-render the view when that data changes, which is good for us. All we need to do is listen to these data events using something like Flux, which will manage our data. With Flux, you not only separate the responsibility of modules, but also get to do an undirectional flow within your app, and that's why Flux is so popular. In the Flux loop for every module, there's always one direction to go through. This intentional constraint on the flow is what makes the Flux applications easy to design, easy to grow, and easy to manage and maintain. This diagram will give you more clarity on the Flux architecture. Take a look. So, this marks the end of the video.